You're listening to the Love Over Addiction podcast. Hey, how are you? How is your week going? How was your weekend? Today we're going to talk about something that I think I created it on my own. I'm going to open up with just a really personal story that I'm incredibly fearful of sharing with you. And the reason I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyways, is because it doesn't necessarily have to do directly with addiction. But of course, you know me, I do think you can use it, and it can be very helpful in your specific situation. So I'm worried that, you'll be like, Michelle, I listened to this podcast just for addiction advice, but I promise you I would not include it if I didn't think I could tie it back into something that would help you. And the second reason is it's incredibly personal. And what I'm about to share with you, you are going to have a judgment of me when I am done. And I'm afraid that you're going to that you're going to negatively judge me. But I'm 43, and I know that I need to not be so afraid of other people's judgment, and that I need to be secure with myself. And I know that you guys are nice, and I know you are kind. And I hope that I have created a community where we can agree to disagree, but still love each other, and we can have different opinions, and we can still respect one another, and we can still make space and make a safe space for people to say, I don't agree with that, but I still love you. So here it goes. You can kind of hear the nervousness in my voice. I think I'm also nervous because it just happened yesterday and I haven't had a whole lot of time to process it. It's still new. So just bear with me. Please give me your love and support and grace on this. And if you disagree, it's okay. I love you and that's fine. So, for some of you guys know that have been listening to this podcast for a while. I have a daughter who's headed off to college next year, and she is gay. And she came out to us her first year in high school. And I was completely floored. I had no idea. For me, there was no signs. And I don't know what I expected as in signs, but it just really took us off guard. But we, as a family, really embraced it. We celebrated immediately. And I kind of went overboard and bought a whole bunch of rainbow clothes and took her to a gay pride parade. And we were all just thrilled. We were so happy. And my extended family, my parents and her aunt and uncle and everyone made her. I sent them a rainbow t-shirt in the mail and then asked them to make a video telling her that they loved her. And then I put it into a collage, a montage of videos, just so that she could feel for certain that her family was 100,000% behind her. And I was worried because I had taken my kids to church for, gosh knows, since they were little. And I was worried that she would have some subconscious messaging that somehow we felt like this was a sinful behavior or lifestyle. And I wanted her to know we didn't think that at all. And she was very nervous because she goes to a Catholic school, and she's incredibly worried about telling her friends. And in fact, her friends were so wonderful. This next generation of kids, I am telling you what, they are just amazing. They are so accepting and embracing of everything. It's incredible. And they loved her. And she told them when they were at the cafeteria, and she just started crying so hard, and all of her friends got up from the seat and gave her a big group hug. And you could not have asked for a better experience. Her teachers, even when they found out that she was gay, one of them even pulled her aside into a room and said, I'm gay, and I've never felt like I can say it at this school. And that encouraged Lauren to try to form a group with other girls. It's an all girls Catholic school, who identify as gay, and get a support group going on. Unfortunately, the board of directors, which is formed by parents, vetoed her presentation and told her this was not appropriate at this school, which was discouraging, but allowed us to say, look, there's still some room to grow and there's still some changes that need to be made. So anyways, why am I bringing this up? I promise you I will tie it back to something that can help you. So, like I said, we used to go to church quite often, and we found ourselves really looking at our lives and going, we really need to create boundaries to keep our daughter safe about who we allow into our lives, because if they don't support her, if they think she's going to hell, or they think she's being a sinner, if they think whatever, we will love them, but I need to protect my kid from that, because I'm putting myself in her place, and that would just feel awful to have somebody in your house that thinks at your dinner table, or, that you're spending time with, that thinks you're literally, going to hell for something that you were, for loving somebody else. So we had to reevaluate where we went to church. I had to quit some of I didn't know. In fact, this is the great part, is that I didn't know that I was a member of a group that didn't support the LGBTQ community. And I was serving as a leader in that group. And when I dug a little deeper and looked into the rules and regulations, I saw this. So I had to step down, which meant I lost so many friends. And then we had to look at, okay, where are we donating our money to? And we really had to dig deep into, is there any amount of money that goes towards, putting rules or regulations or laws or towards that are against the LGBTQ community? And if they are, we need to stop donating to those organizations. So it was a slow process in our family of kind of uncovering what we had been doing. And it was wonderful because it really helped us take accountability and responsibility for where we were spending our time and where we were putting our money. So I had a wonderful friend, and I told all of my friends, not immediately. It wasn't like a text message blast. Hey, my daughter's a lesbian. Although that would be fine too. I just, when I saw them and it came up naturally in conversation, I would just drop it in there. And I had this one wonderful friend. She has been one of my best friends for so many years. I think 9 years. And I went to breakfast with her yesterday. And we were having a great time. And it was one of those times where you're at a restaurant and you're drinking your green drink and you're eating your eggs and you're like, this is wonderful. Why don't I do this more often with her? The conversation was just like, we just pick up wherever we left off and we're laughing and we're sharing and being vulnerable. It's just super easy to be friends with her. And as we're talking, she mentioned she's very, very big into church life. And she mentioned that her church had a small group that were two lesbians were leading this small group, and they had to fire or let go or tell the lesbians that they could not lead any group because the church thought that being gay was a sin. And I said, that's disgusting. Like, I think that's absolutely gross. And this is one of, like, this church has many, many locations. I also said, oh, it's so disappointing because we haven't been going to church for a couple years now. I just really am having a hard time making peace with a lot of the sort of, quote, Christian culture. I'm really struggling with that. I'm not struggling with my faith, my personal faith, but I'm just struggling with a lot of that stuff anyways. And we were hoping that maybe we could connect at this church, but now that's not on the table. And she said, well, I agree with the church. And I literally, you guys, I sat at the table and I was like, my heart, you know, when you're just like, the adrenaline starts pumping and your heart just starts beating so fast. And I was like, what? And she said, yeah, I mean, I think it's a sin. I don't think gay people go to hell, but I think it's a sinful lifestyle. And I said, wait, so anyways, it doesn't even matter. I don't even want to go into detail because I still love this person. And that's what I want to get to. I was shaking. My heart I was literally shaking. And it wasn't the fact that I know there are still people out there that believe this. What shocked me and what upset me so much, and she said to me, you seem so mad. And I go, I am not mad. I am not mad at all. I am just so hurt. I am so hurt. And she was saying, oh, well, I love your daughter. And I go, you don't. You can't. Because, I mean, I wanted you to be there at her wedding. How do you think she would feel if you're at her wedding judging her and thinking that what she's doing is wrong? And she said, well, I still want to be there and I'm not judging her. And I said, you are, by making the call that you think that you've interpreted something in the Bible that says that this is wrong. That is a judgment. And I don't think my sweet, wonderful, loving, kind daughter would want anyone at her wedding that would offer judgment. And I felt myself in this restaurant getting really, really upset. And some other people at another table, like, I caught them kind of side-eyeing me, like, you okay, lady? And I really wasn't mad. I was just so hurt because I love this woman and she is a wonderful, terrific person who I thought we were going to have a friendship and grow old together. And she's been in my home. She knows my daughter so well. My daughter loves her. They've had this great relationship. So anyways, it concluded by me saying to her, we had to go, and me saying to her, I love you, but I don't think I can be friends with you anymore. And that makes me so sad. And she kind of got up and grabbed the check and was paying at the register. And I followed her, and she was upset too. And I gave her a very big hug. I was like, come here, let me hug you. I gave her a huge hug. And I said, if I don't see you again, I love you with all of my heart and soul. And I wish you nothing but the best, and you and your family. And I walked into my car. I walked out and got in my car in the parking lot and just was... I can't explain to you how shaken I was. And I know that sounds so dramatic, like, Michelle, duh, there's tons of people that feel this way. It was just someone that knows my kid and knows me so well and knows my heart. And to think that they would think that, anyways. So here's the deal, okay? You absolutely have the right to say, Michelle, I don't think you did the right thing, or Michelle, I think you did the right thing, whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, not that your opinion to me doesn't matter, it does. But what I am saying to you is, I got in the car, I was driving home, I was really proud of myself for not raging on this poor person or not getting too carried away. And I was really proud of myself for ending it with love and respect, right? And I was also really proud of myself for ending it. And I thought to myself, I'm always going to love her as a friend. I'm always going to have a door open to her if she ever decides to change her mind. But here, in the meantime, I am going to love her from a distance. And that is what I think is a takeaway for loving someone who's struggling with addiction. We need to talk today about loving people from a distance, loving people who hurt us. Because the reality is, for you and for me, it's very easy to park in anger. It's very easy to stay stuck in anger. Because when your loved one, when you're the person you love who's suffering from addiction, hurts you, anger feels so much safer than acknowledging hurt and pain, because that feels way too vulnerable. And so if somebody that you love suffers from addiction is hurting you, it is super convenient for us to get angry and stay angry, but loving them from a distance is the key to moving into a place of hurt. It's moving into a way more real and vulnerable feeling. I'm not saying anger isn't real, because Lord knows. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and pretend that I'm like some angel and say I didn't have moments of anger yesterday when I was, you know how a big event happens in your life and you recreate it over and over again and think, should I have said this? Should I do this differently? That happened to me all day yesterday, and last night I could not sleep and thinking about this, but anger is real. So I'm not saying you should feel bad feeling angry, but what I'm saying is if you want to get unstuck with anger, we need to move into a more vulnerable place, which is hurt. And when you are hurting, when you acknowledge that it's really what's making you angry is that someone hurt you, that's what's infuriating to you, is that you trusted someone, you trusted your loved one, and they hurt you, and that makes you angry. When you dig deeper than anger and you acknowledge the pain, it is much, much easier to love someone from a distance, because that truly is going to be the key for you to survive the relationship that you're in while still being happy and healthy. The only way that you are going to get to a place of wholeness and happiness and get your courage and your confidence back, restore who you once were, is if you learn to love from a distance. So you're not separating yourself from the person you love in anger. You're not walking away and going, screw you, you're the worst. I mean, I'm not judging that, but I'm saying that's not going to help you in the long run. It's really acknowledging and saying, you know what, your drinking, your drug use, your sex addiction, your pornography use, your the way you gamble all of our money away, the way you flirt with all these other people, it hurts me. And the sad part is, or the best part, whatever you want to view, is that I am in love with you because I think you are great. And I think if you got sober, you could be the best thing that ever happened to me and everyone in, lives you touch. That's how much I love you. That's how much I believe in you. That's how much I care. But I cannot continue to put myself out there in this relationship and continue to be hurt like this. I cannot continue to love you the way that you want me to love you, because in the end, it just breaks my heart. And just when I think my heart cannot get broken, again, it happens and my heart is shattered. And I lose hope and I lose faith in you. And I want nothing more than to be with you. But I cannot until you stop hurting me. And that means telling the truth all the time. That means showing up for me, loving me, accepting me, being warm to me, not making me feel alone, not making me feel unsafe, not making me feel depressed, right? That's what you need to explain to your partner. That's what you need, the language you need to use. I could have easily yesterday switched into anger and been like, F that. That's BS. And, screw you. But I love her, just like you love the person you're with. Or you did love the person you're with. Maybe you're out of love with them. And so you want to create distance. You want to love from a distance in a healthy way, in a healthy version of that, right? So what does actually loving from a distance look like? Because listen, if there's one thing that drives me cray-cray, is that self-help books tell you the generalization and they don't tell you exactly what to do. Because then I'm left going like, okay, well, just give me the steps. Just tell me what I need to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I want specifics. And so let's go over that. Let's talk about loving from a distance. Loving from a distance. Okay. So, does it mean you need to move out? Maybe. That could be a good thing for you. For some of you guys listening to this, moving out would be a great next step. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to get divorced. You could just set up an appointment with a lawyer and have some informational discussions with your lawyer and say, okay, what are my options? What should I be doing in case I want to, go the route of divorce? Some of you, like I said, you could be just in the mood to separate. That might be healthy for you. That might be physical distance, might be incredibly necessary for you to clear your head, for you to create a very safe space, for you to kind of find your center again, for you to get in touch with who you are instead of constantly being in a power struggle with the one you love who's suffering from addiction. It might be a great trial for you to feel like, okay, I haven't been alone in so long. What would it feel like for me to be alone? Would I fall apart? Would I miss them desperately? Or would I actually, if I give it a month or 2 or 6 or 8, find my bearings? And I might actually enjoy this. I might actually enjoy coming home from work and pouring myself a glass of wine and watching whatever I want to watch, or having some friends over, and knowing I'm in a safe spot and I'm not going to overdrink or get drunk or have to deal with any drama. It might feel really good for you to get some physical separation in order to detox from addiction. Okay? Now, for some of you, when I say move out, or meet with a lawyer, or go down the path of a divorce, some of you, that creates a ton of anxiety. And you go, no. This is too hard to listen to. I'm turning her off. I get it. I absolutely get it. So that's an indicator to you that you might not be ready to move forward. When I left my ex-husband, I tried for years, you guys. For years, I tell this story all the time. I pack my bags, I get in the car, and I drive around the neighborhood in my pajamas. And I go nowhere. I don't go to the hotel. I don't go to a friend's house. I drive around hoping that he's learned his lesson. And then I pull right back into the garage. And he's fine. He's on the couch. He's drinking. He's on drink number whatever, 6, 8, 12. And he doesn't even notice I've walked in. I mean, it's funny now that I think about it, because my attempts to leave were silly, but that was just an indicator that I wasn't ready to leave yet. I did not have the strength to go. And frankly, let's be real, I didn't think it was bad enough to actually go. But then there came a day, and I had hundreds of attempts just like that. I mean, I even called a lawyer and left a voicemail one night when we were fighting. And I left the voicemail so loud. I was talking so loudly in the other room so he would hear me. And I was like, yes, Mr. Lawyer, I want to come meet with you. Please call me ASAP. I am looking to divorce my husband. And I was like right by the door so he could hear me, so I could scare him into sobriety. You know, like, we talk a lot about how addicts and alcoholics manipulate us, but I will say, I'll be the first one to raise my hand and go, I did some very manipulative things too, that I can now look back on and think that's just funny, because it didn't work. None of it worked. So when I did decide to leave, I knew in my soul, in my gut, in every fiber of my being, it was time. And courage just rose from within, because when you know, you know, you know. And it's just a certain thing, and you're like, boom, I'm leaving and I'm not looking back. Now, there was a couple periods of times during my divorce where I did have moments of like my heart tugged. Is that a thing? Heart tugged, heartstrings tugged. I don't know. But in my heart, I knew, I was like, oh, I'm going to miss things about him. Gosh, he's so fun when he's sober. He's such a good dad when he's engaged with the kids. You know, I had moments like that. I was mourning our marriage, but I always knew I got to keep moving forward. I can't go backwards to that life again. There's something better for me waiting. So if you're one of those people that are like, oh, should I stay? Should I go? Should I stay? Should I go? I don't know. My advice to you, it might not be right, but I would say you know when you know, and just wait for that feeling of you know, unless you're in physical safety or physical danger. And then I said, you need to get the hell out of there, and you need to call the 1-800 number, the hotline. I'm going to put it in the show notes because the name escapes me. Oof, and it's a wonderful organization. So call them. They have amazing advice. And their website, you guys, if you think you are getting abused, in the Stay or Go program, I go through all the different types of abuse: financial abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, physical, and define all of these abuses for you so you can know if you are really in trouble. But if you are not, if you're physically safe and you're feeling anxiety about leaving, maybe you stay for now and you just focus on getting your life together, on healing yourself. Maybe you just sit there and you go, I can create some distance. I can love from a distance inside my own home. Let's break that down for a second. Okay, let's talk about that. If you're in the camp of, I still want to try to figure this out. I'm not quite ready. Or maybe I'm never going to be ready. I don't believe in divorce and I'm stuck with this person for life. I'm in it to win it. Great. Okay, let's talk about what loving from a distance looks like for you. Number one, you need to create a place in your home that is just for you. If you live in a very small apartment, this can be challenging, but it can be even a bedroom. I lived in a studio apartment in Boston for a little while, and my safe spot was the bathroom because there was a door and a lock. And in the safe space, I couldn't do this, but if you have a spare bedroom or a spare office, anything that you can turn into that has a door, I want you to bring in some picture frames and some pictures of people that you love. They cannot be of your loved one that's struggling with addiction. Put some books in there. that you've been meaning to read, or maybe that really inspire you. I want you to put a charger in that room for your cell phone in case you need to call for help. If you have kids, you can put some of their stuffed animals in there, maybe their laptop charger in there, or iPad charger. And then you can put in an air mattress if it's not a guest bathroom, so you have a place to sleep, some sheets. Maybe you can go to Home Goods or some nice store, and get some new fresh sheets. Launder them, fold them up so they're a treat when you lay on them, nice and soft and cozy. And I want you to, if the door does not have a lock, I want you to go to Home Depot, and you can Google this on YouTube, because I did, and put a lock on the door. Put a deadbolt or some sort of lock on the door. They're like $12 at Home Depot, okay? Because the whole point of this is when they get out of control, or when they start to get too drunk, or they start to get abusive verbally, or they start to get angry with you, you can literally go into your safe spot, and you can make it nice and warm and enjoyable and cozy, and you can keep them out. You can keep addiction out of your safe spot. That is a way that you can love from a distance. You are loving them. You're not engaging in arguments with them. You're not getting into a power struggle. You're not telling them how bad they suck because they're not getting sober. You're literally leaving them temporarily in love and creating some distance for yourself. Okay, so that's one way you can do that. Now, how did I do that in the bathroom? I had a blow-up mattress outside of the bathroom and a little box. And whenever I felt unsafe, I took my box into my bathroom and set up my situation. And what do you tell your kids? If they're in that, you make a game. If they're young, you make a game out of it. You say, we're going to have a sleepover. You can build a tent with pillows and a sheet if you want to. Even consider putting some snacks in there and some bottled water so you don't have to leave the room. Does that make sense? Maybe put some cash in there. Make sure you have your car keys in there in case they bust down the door, which has happened to me. You want to make sure that you have an exit strategy. Try to think 3 steps ahead. What's another way you can love from a distance? You can make a promise to yourself right now, today, with me, that you are not going to tolerate any kind of abusive behavior from your loved one. We all know that drinking and drugs and all that kind of jazz, I sounded really old when I said all that kind of jazz, didn't I? That's okay. I'm okay with that. You can absolutely, we know that they can be abusive. It doesn't bring out the best in people most of the time. They can be mean. They can withdraw. They can be verbally abusive. They can go around looking for a fight. Not everybody's spouse or partner gets that way, but some of them do. So make yourself a promise right now if you're in that type of relationship and say, you know what? I'm going to honor myself. I'm going to cherish myself. I am not going to engage in anyone. And maybe there's other people in your life who you find are sort of abusing you or or taking advantage of you. Maybe that's a time where you today say, I'm just not going to engage in that kind of behavior. I'm not going to give that any energy anymore. I'm not going to enter the power struggle of trying to set them right in what they're saying and correct them and get them to believe something different because what they're saying is wrong. Don't worry about it. Maybe you say, you know what? I don't know if they believe what they're saying about me or not, but I'm going to choose to believe something different about me. And I'm not going to let them influence my feelings about myself anymore. I'm going to take back my power. I'm going to believe about myself all the wonderful, loving things. Because if they aren't, the person that I love is not doing that, that's a really great life tool that I need to learn for myself, right? You can do something like that. So what does that look like? If they are at all abusive or passive aggressive in any way, you disengage. You don't respond to the text. You hang up politely, hang up the phone. You can say, look, I love you and I love talking to you, but not when you're treating me like this. So every time that try to make me feel small, or you belittle me, or you mistreat me, or you're verbally abusive to me, I'm not going to engage with you. You can make that announcement. You can declare that out loud to them. And then key, follow up, follow through. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to shoot 100 out of 100. You can aim for, maybe you start out with a goal of 20% of the time, and you just continue to increase the goal, because you're going to get better and better and better at it. And you're going to start to recognize abuse more and more and more. So if they call you a name, wrong, hanging up. If they start raising their voice and you can sense the aggression in their tone, that's disrespect, I'm hanging up. If they start bringing up your past and using it against you, or times that you have been vulnerable with them, and now they're like manipulating you with that information, hanging up, disengaging. If they bring up what you've shared in tender moments, what other family members or friends think about you, and they're using that against you, nope, that's not supportive. I'm shutting that down. I'm disengaging. You're literally creating a boundary for yourself, and you're helping teach them how to treat you. And it's really important that you master this skill, because addiction is most of the time a very nasty disease that can get very mean and hurtful. So that is a way you can love them from a distance. When they're nice to you, go ahead, love on them. When they're in a good mood, great, go for it. Be loving and supportive. You don't have to always be distant from your loved one, but you need to exercise your judgment on knowing when it is time to disengage and love from a distance, and when it is time to get close to them. The key is to become a master at understanding what kind of mood they're in, what consequences need to come from that mood. Because the truth is, you are absolutely a smart, wonderful human being. And you love someone who has the potential to be a lovely, wonderful person. You're not an idiot. You didn't marry a total schmo. You're not in a relationship with a total doofus. Like, there are great, wonderful qualities about the person that you love. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. You wouldn't love them, because you're not an idiot. So it's okay for you to love up close when they are in that kind of mood. But it is also very much necessary for you to love from a distance when they are in a bad mood. Whether it's they've gotten sober and they're dry drunk, which is very much a thing, because we often think, if they just got sober, life would be so much better. That doesn't always happen, guys. They get sober, sometimes they get nasty. And why? We don't need to go into this. This is a whole nother podcast. But the reason why that happens oftentimes is because dry drunks, there's a whole bunch of research on this that I won't go into, because we go into it actually in the program for the parents. But this is when I discovered all of this type of research. Basically, one of the reasons why people believe the ones we love actually struggle with addiction, if it is not a genetic predisposition. And there's lots of research. In fact, I was just looking at some science about metabolism and alcoholism this morning. But if it's not genetic, if there's not a genetic predisposition or some sort of gene that does not metabolize alcohol, that gives certain type of people with certain enzymes a greater chance of becoming an alcoholic, if that's not the case with our loved ones, then oftentimes studies show that they become alcoholics because they were never taught, or they never learned coping mechanisms for dealing with trauma. So they find escapes in alcohol, drugs, pornography, gambling, whatever. That's why a lot of different things can become addictions, because it's not necessarily the substance that they're addicted to. It's the way that the addiction allows them to avoid the trauma. That's why for lots, and I don't mean to over-categorize the statement, but that's why a lot of women who are addicted to shopping or buying, it's not that they're addicted to the clothes. I remember like 10 years ago, I used to buy used clothes at a consignment store. And I think I was a size 12, and someone in the store would bring in every week brand new Tory Burch size 12 clothes with the tags on them. And I would go in and I would say, wait a second, what? This is like a super expensive brand new shirt and it's like $10. And I eventually went up to the owner of the consignment store and said, what's the deal? How do you keep getting all of these great Tory Burch beautiful clothes for so cheap? And she said, we have a woman who is beyond wealthy, who literally has a shopping addiction and goes out and buys all these clothes, not even wearing them, and then she brings them in to consign them. So that got me actually interested in shopping addiction, of course. So I started researching that. And it's the feeling, guys. It's actually a new emerging addiction that is happening, and there's a couple rehab treatment centers for it, is addiction to social media, addiction to your phone. And they are now opening rehab facilities for, typically, it's young men that need to detox from electronics. And it's the scrolling with your finger, scroll. There's some sort of endorphins that go off when you get a like, or when you get new content, when your Instagram account reloads, or your Pinterest. Anyways, I'm digressing. The point is this, is that dry drunks typically, they're called dry drunks because even though they have quit their addiction, they have not learned the tools yet to handle their emotions. So it's sort of like, imagine someone taking your tools away, which is the drugs or alcohol or pornography or sex or whatever, the thing they're addicted to, and then you're just left stuck sitting there without any kinds of ways to process all of those feelings, all of that trauma that you've been running away from for years and years and years. You're going to be grouchy. You're going to be ultra sensitive. You're not going to know, which is why it is so important, if your loved one is trying to get sober, to give them help with trained professionals who legit know about addiction, that can teach them what to do with all of those feelings that they're feeling and how to express them and move forward and work through them. It's a whole progress, which is why, statistically speaking, there's lots of science behind this. The longer a person is in rehab, the greater their chance of recovery is. So 30 days is okay, but if you can get 90, 120 sober, anyways, there's just a lot of science to say these people, these beautiful, wonderful people that are trying to get sober, need help. Now, a little disclaimer here. Not everyone that suffers from addiction, and we talked about this a couple podcasts ago, are good people. There are some really bad people out there. But I think the addiction is just one layer to a line of issues and problems. Not all of us in this community are married to great men and women who just happen to struggle with addiction, okay? I want to make that very clear. And you know who you are, because you can raise your hand. You've talked to me about it before and said, a man that hits a woman is not a good man. I'm going to draw that line in the sand and say that and be bold. A man that abuses his kids Not a good man, okay? Not everyone, a man that holds his wife hostage and uses money over her, or, flaunts his affairs to her, not good, okay? So there are people in our community who are not married to great people. I don't want to make that blanket statement that everybody is good. Okay. This was a lot, wasn't it? I packed in a ton of stuff in this podcast. So you might need to listen to this a couple times to get it all. But hopefully, even if you don't have time for that, which I totally get, you can pick up at least one or two things that might be helpful for you for the next couple days until the next episode. And then lastly, what I want to close on is this. For those of you that are taking the time to review this podcast, I hate doing the whole subscribe, review, leave 5 stars. I don't want to put that pressure on you one bit. I do things very differently. I don't have commercials. I don't have guests on, because having guests is just sometimes another way, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes a way to get a ton more subscribers. And I don't want to do that. I want to keep small. I want it just to be between you and me. I love just getting on here and talking to you directly. I'm not trying to find a billion subscribers or become a overnight. No, thank you. I like it being just small, just us. But I really freaking appreciate the reviews. And it's surprising to me, but they mean so much to me. My team has started now, we'll take the latest one and send it in a group text so that we can all continue to be motivated, especially because we never took a break during COVID and kept working through it. They are so motivating to me. And it is so nice to hear what you like about this, because I'm going to do more of that. So some of you are reviewing and saying she's so real, and that you guys have no idea. I am very real. You just heard an airplane overhead. It's as real as it gets. I'm in my backyard. But the fact that you don't need me to dress up things, and that I can just be direct with you, and I can be, you provide me a safe space to tell you guys about my real life and not try to have to pretend that it's better than it is, or that I have everything figured out, or that I'm some authority on any, you know what I mean? I love that you guys tell me that. And I also love, just this morning, Brittany sent a group text about someone saying, she loves, this person left a review saying, I love that, Michelle does research. You guys have no idea how much research I do. I have spent gazillions of thousands of dollars on research and books and learning. And I'm obsessed with the learning, because I want to provide you guys with all of it. And so sometimes I worry and I go, oh my gosh, is this too research oriented and not feeling enough? Should I make it way more personal? Or I don't know. The things that go through your head when you put out content into the world it's hard, you guys. It's scary. I'm not going to lie. And anyone that tells you, oh no, I can just record a podcast and think, it's super easy. Maybe for them, but not for me. It feels risky. So I am so grateful that you are validating me. They mean the world to me. They mean the world to my team, because we all, work full time, and this is just a great, it's a great motivator, and it's just great. So I hope that wasn't too long of a thank you, but I love you guys. I'm here for you every step. Okay, guys, love you. Talk to you next week. This podcast is created for your support, encouragement, and entertainment with my personal thoughts and beliefs. We are bonded together by the fact that we love someone suffering from addiction. This is not intended as a substitute for therapy or advice from a professional.